All right, this is going to be episode 3 of Let's Talk Flicks, the Saturday night edition. Cheers, Bobbit.
Cheers.
Got some
Uncut,
cookies,
uncensored, late night episode.
got some drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Today's episode
And we're
will
getting
be.
crazy.
Oh, yeah, we're getting crazy. Today's episode's topic is going to be if you like this movie, you should check out this older movie. And there are some caveats we'll get into later, but we saw this idea from an account, The Film Pope, on Instagram. Big fans of it. But first, like we always start off, let's start off with what have we watched recently?
You want me to start?
I'll start.
All
I
right.
think I probably got a few more. Apologies if you hear all this noise. We got a dog going crazy right now.
Yeah, sorry guys.
She'll chill out. First off, the furthest away from when we're recording that I've watched was Inherent Vice by Paul Thomas Anderson. And I've read the book, Thomas Pynchon book, as well. It's kind of just a goofy detective film. Joaquin Phoenix, stacked cast. It's unbelievably stacked. I mean, it's like Joaquin Phoenix, Reese Witherspoon, Martin Short, or not Martin Sheen,
Martin Short.
Martin Short. Sorry, uh, dog's throwing me off. Josh Brolin. Josh incredible in it. And it's almost like a Big Lebowski-esque film. Like it's like a Doc Sportello, this stoner detective going across LA in the
It's
60s.
what's the novel writer?
Pynchon.
No, that like The Long Goodbye and like it's
Raymond Chandler.
maybe, yeah.
Well, that's who wrote The Long Goodbye.
Right. Okay. Maybe that's what I'm thinking
In the
of.
Big
Like a
Sleep.
Raymond Chandler novel. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's Thomas Pynchon's take
Right.
on this sort of neo noir. It's a really fun watch. I think it's gonna be a future cult classic. It's a little long, but it doesn't feel.
Is it not already kind of like? I feel like it's.
Yeah, I would say it is.
Yeah.
That's a good point. He's kind of alongside like Under the Silver Lake.
Right.
Like that, yeah. And I'm actually going to bring it up as I guess we already mentioned that Long Goodbye.
Well, we'll get into it more when we get into our topics. We'll get into it. Right. Sorry.
So,
you kind of humble bragged a little bit, saying you might have more recent watches than
we
me.
haven't recorded. Okay,
I have
for the you won't know. Well, you will know because I already uploaded the first episode of this. I have not uploaded the second episode, but it's been a while. But we're going to be more consistent, start uploading, more and more.
We'll give the fans what they want.
Got to give a shout out to Chandler here. I'm Nathan's Chandler. We've mentioned that before, but
hello.
Got to give a shout out to Chandler here. Great backdrop. We're able to use his pad for it. So
my nerd corner. Thanks you.
Again.
Certainly. So I'll start my recently watched. I'll kind of clump a few movies together in my popcorn trash category. Nice. If you haven't picked up on our tastes, I'm certainly more of the popcorn cinema guy.
Oh, it's gonna be great too with like what I recently watched.
Right, this is gonna be a stark contrast.
Yeah.
There's some good ones. I've seen some good ones, but I'll start with the bottom of the heap, which is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, really?
I do not love superhero movies or the MCU. I do have a soft spot for X-Men and Wolverine in particular. Definitely. That was growing up. I
actually wanted to see that, yeah.
Growing up, I loved the X-Men films and Wolverine too. I am a fan of X-Men Origins Wolverine. So probably one of the only people on this planet that likes that movie. The first appearance of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Yeah. Radically different character design. I do kind of have a soft spot for the Deadpool movies too. The director of it, I can't remember. His last name is Leach, I believe. But he directed Atomic Blonde, a movie I do really like.
Mike Leach, is it?
No. Mike Leach is the guy who made like he makes like the kitchen sink dramas. Like no, that's no? Mike Lee.
Oh god. All right.
So yeah. Sorry. But I am kind of a fan of the director, and actually, cut. I don't even know if he directed Wolverine and Deadpool. He directed The Fall Guy, the other movie I've seen that I just watched. Sorry.
It's fine. Sean Levy. It's Sean Levy up at the top. All right, well, let's clap back in. We're keeping that part in.
Yeah, Sean Levy. Okay.
All right.
So
let me grab another beer.
Okay. Sean Levy, actually, if we're keeping this in, Sean Levy, director of Deadpool and Wolverine, you might also know him from his films such as Free Guy or Night at the Museum. Ever heard of it? I
Wow.
think so.
Okay.
Big Fat Liar,
Wow. I
director of
love Big
Big
Fat Liar.
Fat Liar. Yes. Director of the Pink Panther remake. Oh,
Seen that movie a ton of times.
yikes. Okay, so this guy, what a career. He directed Real Steel, the
But
Hugh
let's go
Jackman.
back to what we're talking about.
Sorry, this
Deadpool
is
versus Wolverine.
yeah, Deadpool versus Wolverine. It's the most fan service movie I've ever seen, which is what you expect.
Right.
Certainly. But it's a Deadpool movie. It's got good action. It's very meta. He makes many references to the camera, but it's not very good. I mean, there's
I like
there's
that you
good
started
action
with
set
Butt
pieces.
there. You started with Butt there, like you're saying, but I actually really like
I
it.
mean,
But it's not.
I feel like a lot of people have the same take on the Deadpool movies. Like you kind of enjoy like the action is always well directed, like it's well shot or whatever.
Right.
But like they're not good movies. They're silly. They're stupid. They're a bit cringe or a lot of cringe.
I like how you mentioned you were a fan of the old X-Men movies. So I was gonna say
I am.
the first X-Men movie. I remember renting.
I'm a big fan of the X-Men
renting
movies.
it from the library because you get DVDs.
Oh, I remember that dude.
And watching it, and the beginning of it is the girl who's the X-Men character who touches people and kills them. You don't remember the beginning? Beginning of the movie, she's like kissing her boyfriend and like kills him, and it like scared the shit.
Yeah. I remember the thing I remember more is the beginning of X-Men 2 when the guy with the wings is cutting off his wings. I always thought that was so fucked up as a kid.
Yeah,
that like
the
scarred me.
Beginnings of those movies were like
they're kind of dark.
intense,
Well, and the first one was directed by a pedophile. So
who?
The biggest one, Bryan Singer.
Bryan Singer.
Yeah, Bryan Singer directed X-Men 1.
I thought he was like more like a Me Too. I didn't know he was like a.
No, he's a pedophile. He's not Me Too. Bryan Singer is a pedophile.
Wow, that's rare for a big Hollywood director.
Yep, director of Bohemian Rhapsody too, recent Oscar winner. So
nice.
shout that out. Yeah, he's still kicking.
Okay.
But on my popcorn trash, I've recently watched. The next one will be The Fall Guy. Actually directed by the guy I'm talking about who made Atomic Blonde. He made Deadpool 2, and I think he was like the stunt coordinator or whatever on Deadpool 1. Either way, he comes from a stunt background. You can tell by his movies. The action sequences are always extremely well choreographed. They're really well made. I did not like The Fall Guy.
That's a shame.
It's really long. My old man take on many modern movies. So long. There's no reason it needs to be 2.5 hours.
See, I'm sorry to interject. I feel like sometimes it's really nice. Like Inherent Vice is really long, but it's like it doesn't feel.
The movie has to be deserving of that runtime. It either needs to feel shorter than it is, or it needs to have some great payoff, or not even a great payoff. It just needs to be deserving of that runtime. And
keep the viewer interested.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not deserving of that runtime. I think people like it because people do like The Fall Guy. It should be mentioned. Like people do like it.
And you said it's directed by a stunt coordinator. I was like, immediately, I'm like, oh well, Jackie Chan, Police Story. Like, no, sometimes it can be awesome.
The action in the movie is all great. It's all very well choreographed. It is great action sequences, but it's also partly a rom-com, and I love rom-coms, truly. Like, don't get me wrong, but I found nothing in either of the characters. It's Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. I found myself like halfway through the movie remembering, oh right, you're supposed to care about these characters and if they get back together. And like when you have to remind yourself of that, like you're like, wait, why are they like flirting? Like, why do I care about this? Like, it's lost me at that point. And I really did have to remind myself, oh, right, like I'm supposed to care if this guy gets back with her. And like, it's a silly movie overall. So I won't get too much more into that. Good action though. I like the action in it. Certainly fine.
Worth the watch?
No, not worth the watch in my opinion. Save yourself 2.5 hours. The third one, so I know I'm kind of piling a bunch of movies on top, but my third one that I'm going to include in the popcorn trash category, but this one is sniffing the top. I wouldn't like to call this popcorn trash because I actually really did like this movie, but I watched not Paul Thomas Anderson like you, Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Evil. the first of the Resident
Yeah, I
Evil
bet that was
franchise.
awesome.
It was awesome. I was actually not expecting to like it very much. I don't know that much about the franchise. I like the games.
Yeah, I was gonna
Love the
say you
games.
played.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've played quite a few of them. Shout out Resident Evil Village was fantastic. That was one of the greater like recent console experiences I've had. Beautiful
Okay.
game. But the first movie, it's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, like I said, who later goes on to marry Mila Jovovich, and they make,
Djokovic.
yeah, however,
Yeah, yeah.
but they make many of the Resident Evil movies together later on. But previously, he was the director of Event Horizon,
Which
which,
I need to see.
yes, you need to
Yes.
see that. A brutal, like, gory, fucked up movie, and I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of gore in the original Resident Evil. And it's so, we could do a whole episode. You would not be as interested in this, but a whole episode about this genre of movies of like the early 2000s, like or late 90s, like gory, like sci-fi. It's like that, like Event Horizon, like Doom. Remember the Doom movie with The
Right.
Rock and like
Yeah. See, it's funny when you say that because it's like I remember I saw Alien versus Predator in
Alien
theaters.
versus Predator would be a
But
perfect
see,
one for that
it's not as
category, or
gory as you
Alien
probably
3.
remember. Because I
Really?
remember there was this.
Okay.
Well, here's nostalgia for people. When we were kids, so there was a week. Where,
Resident Evil is not as gory as Event.
Really?
Event Horizon is on a different level. Event
Yeah.
Horizon is like straight up body horror.
There was
at
a
many
week in
times.
theaters. I remember because I had a chance to go see all three. iRobot, Alien versus Predator, and Anaconda 3 all came out. And I remember my dad
Anaconda
was like,
3. I'm surprised that went to theaters.
I want to say it was Anaconda 3. It was some Anaconda movie. But I just remember thinking, like, oh, that's really cool. I got that option to see. So I saw iRobot and Alien vs. Predator. Insane. Sorry, I'm
No, but that's it. That's another good movie for that like kind of topic. Is like
right. Interesting.
it's such a trend of like those like kind of like.
But I'm telling you, it's not as great as.
But either way, you know what I mean. Like
Right,
they want you to think it's going to be fucked up.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
certainly. But no, Cube, yes. Cube, Resident Evil actually reminded me so much of Cube. That was the other movie I was thinking of a ton watching it. But it's a good movie. I think if you're into my tastes and you like a good time, no reason not to watch it.
Cool.
Yep.
Right on. All right. So I'll just because you said the rom-com thing, this would be a good segue for the rom-com thing. I watched this movie. It Happened One Night, which is like a very old
Frank Capra, right? Wow.
Frank Capra. Yep. Classic old film. I think both the lead actor and actress, and it's been so long I'm blanking on their names, were both nominated. And I've seen it on a film channel on, I want to say the guy's name is Thomas Flight on YouTube. So another shout out, we shouted out the Film Pope, now I'm talking about Thomas Flight, used that film as an example of the difference in acting styles today versus back then. Because he was like, he compared it to Marriage Story. Because he was like, Marriage Story, both Adam Driver and Emma Stone were nominated. And then this, the acting styles, it's like non-realistic at all. But it's a very charming film, I would say. But
it's Clark
so
Gable
funny.
and Claudette Colbert.
Okay.
Nice. But Frank Capra, I mean, he directed like It's a Wonderful Life, right? He's like, I feel like.
So this, whoever directed It Happened One Night, they directed another movie called
it's Frank Capra. He directed It's a Wonderful Life. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. A ton of these type of movies.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's very charming. It's a fun, it's just an easy watch. It's fun, but it's kind of sad. I mean, maybe this says something about me, but it wasn't like I'm going to talk about another movie that I watched that like blew me away. In fact, the other two movies I'm going to talk about both blew me away, but this one was like, it was charming. But I guess at the time, it was revolutionary. But anyway, so he did a lump together of popcorn trash movies. I'm going to do a very pretentious lump together of Dogma 95 and Anti-Dogma 95. I watched The Celebration, Thomas Vinterberg. You're familiar with Dogma 95. This idea of him and Lars von Trier coming together, writing this manifesto, after they believed, there's too many auteurs, and it matters more about who directed it rather than the actual story of the film. And so they were created this list of rules. And Vinterberg sort of cracked the code with The Celebration. I really can't go into detail about it because if I went into detail, it kind of spoil what the story is. But it's really well made. It's very entertaining. It looks
what country is this again?
Camera. I want to say it's Norway.
I was thinking like Denmark.
Norway. Yeah, that was my second guess.
Vinterberg.
But it's great. Yeah, it's
Hey,
impressive. Is what I would say.
Here's a dumb question. What did Thomas Vinterberg direct that movie, The Hunt,
Yeah, you
with
did.
Mads
See, I was
Mikkelsen?
going to talk about that. I
Okay.
was going to talk about. So I watched the special. I have the Criterion Blu-ray of it, and I watched the special features after because I was interested. I was like, wow, it's such like a feat to have all of these rules in place that you can't break this rule. No outside music.
What do you
No
mean?
outside props.
He
Dogma
set these.
95 is a manifesto.
Oh,
There's
right.
a list of rules that you
Okay,
can't
I didn't.
break, and I'll get into that with the second movie I watched. But what was I saying? Oh yes, he had an interview. So he made the movie. It was a hit, at Cannes and Golden Lion and these festivals. And he said he finally got to meet Ingmar Bergman, and he's
It's
like,
awesome.
and it was like one of his heroes. And
Damn,
Ingmar,
he must have been like at the end of his life at that point.
I know,
Like, what
right?
is this,
I
like the
think he's just pretty
90s?
older. Yeah,
Yeah.
older. And Ingmar Bergman was like, "Wow, it's like a huge accomplishment. Like, what's up next?" And he's like, "Well, I haven't really thought about what I'm going to do next." And Ingmar Bergman just goes, "Oh, you're fucked." And
That's funny.
he's like, you need to have already in mind what you're going to do next
Right.
before you release a film.
Right.
And he said he really did struggle with that for 6 years. And it's funny because you have the computer up.
Yeah, I
So
do.
the next movie Thomas Vinterberg made has Joaquin Phoenix in it, and it's it was like the opposite of what the celebration was. Like he was like, I tried to make like the biggest, like loudest.
Oh, he made that movie another round too.
Yeah, he made another. I know.
Oh, he made Kursk. We've seen that movie. It's all about love. This is definitely
yes,
Joaquin Phoenix.
It's all about love. Golly, we're gonna have to cut some of that. But he made this film. It's all about love, and he talks about that because he was like, this was my like anti this celebration. Like he's like, I did it big and loud and like everything, breaking all those rules, and it was a bomb. And he bombed for like a lot of years. He said in the interview, he's like, I kind of lost my way. Then he made The Hunt.
Yeah.
And another round, and he's like slowly come back into the graces.
In between there, he did make a movie that we've seen called Kursk, which I did not think was great. That was the submarine movie. It is like Danish or it's.
I don't know if I watched that with you.
I think you did.
Okay.
Maybe, but it was okay.
Well, yes. So, anyways, I would highly recommend a celebration if you are like a film snob, like if you can handle. I mean, because it is. It's not for somebody who's like, right. They would be like, "What am I?"
It's a challenging film, as we like to say when we're.
But it is. There's a lot of really impressive feats in it.
On our most pretentious.
Yeah, like I'd say, but more than I like. I mean, I did enjoy the movie. It's funny. The movie's like a dark comedy almost. But I would say more so than that, I was impressed by it. And I'd like to watch. I did not watch it, but there are some other movies in the Dogma 95 realm. This movie called Mifune. Lars von Trier's The Idiot.
Is that about Toshiro Mifune?
No, it's not.
Oh.
Good question.
I mean, I don't know.
I think it's just a Danish film. I don't know anything about it. And then Julian Donkey Boy, which Harmony Korine, which I'm a fan of Harmony Korine. I like Gummo. I like Trash Humpers. I don't know if I still have it, because we're in Nashville, like I said. I grew up here, Belcourt. I had a signed Trash Humpers poster from when Harmony Korine released the film.
You're going to be
one of my buddies lived in an area where like his trash can might have been one of the trash cans hung.
You're going to be the Harmony Korine expert on this podcast.
I don't think I'm an expert. I don't.
Because I cannot say I'm quite as big of a fan.
Did you see Gummo?
But yes, I did see Gummo.
And you didn't like it?
I did not like it that much.
Can
I tell you something that really pissed me off about Gummo?
Sure.
Is that it's clearly shot in Nashville. Everyone has a southern accent, yet it takes place in Ohio. Why doesn't it just take place in Nashville?
Because
I get caught up on this stuff. Have you ever
been to Ohio? Ohio, there's tons of people with southern accents in Ohio.
It doesn't feel like it's in Ohio.
Now you got me on trash people, but Ohio is like arguably more. I have family in Ohio. Ohio is like arguably more redneck than like Nashville is.
But there's a difference between like I don't know. I could tell the movie did not take place in Ohio, and that caught me up.
To me, growing up here, that's kind of like why I like it.
Like, but why doesn't it just take place in Nashville? And it's about a tornado too, and we have tornadoes. Like
I'm going to try and say this as PC as possible. In Gummo, there is an African American little person, and I remember seeing that person. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He like has like skull. I remember seeing that person in Ed Chill like all the time, and they were like, "Yeah, that's the guy in Gummo."
Wow. Well,
yeah,
there you go, guys.
So that's why I have a soft spot for Harmony Korine. Anyways,
because he knew the guy.
Aside. Yeah, huge aside. And I've seen Harmony Korine at a farmer's market actually too. But anyways, huge aside. Now he lives in Florida. You're a Florida guy. You should appreciate that. Watch the celebration if you're a film snob. Then after that, I watched Dancer in the Dark, Lars von Trier. which after he made The Idiots, after he made Breaking the Waves, which Breaking the Waves, it doesn't follow the Dogma 95 rules either. But I mean, Dance in the Dark is like it's like his kind of like fuck you to his own.
But is that part of the Dogma 95 that came out in 2000?
Well, so the reason I put it in there is because Criterion Channel, which I'm a member of,
it's Von Trier.
In that. So they released a collection, like that's the Dogma 95 collection. So it's a list of films, like I said, Celebration, Mifune, Julie Donkey Boy. There's another one I can't remember, and then it has Dance in the Dark, but it has it crossed out, and it's like it's kind of awesome
That's
because
funny.
it is.
Yeah,
they included in that because it was just so amazing. But I told you this on the
phone.
It's
like a spiritual,
right? But it's like his it's like breaking away from that
right.
idea. And I told you this on the phone that one of the rules is you're not allowed to put your name on a film. So like you're not allowed to be like directed by. And the thing that's so awesome about Dance in the Dark is it begins with like this shroud where you like not really know what you're seeing, and there's an overture because it is a musical, and then it's just a blue screen and these large metallic letters that says Lars von Trier, and then small black writing in the middle that says Dance in the Dark. And I was like,
it's awesome.
Lars von Trier is like one of my favorite directors.
Nothing I love more in a movie than a good title card.
I know.
I love a good title card.
But it's like if you know the backstory too, you're like, that's fucking awesome. That he like.
Could you name your favorite title card ever? I could name mine.
Okay, what would yours be?
It's an easy pick for me. It is Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah,
the TV screen where it just says a David Lynch film, and it plays the Angelo Badalamenti score, and it just says Twin, and then it says, I love too. It says starring Cheryl Lee as Laura Palmer and Ray Wise as. It like calls them both out specifically in the title card as like starring as. I think that's such a great touch.
That's a very good one. Wow.
But I don't know. That's such a nerdy topic. But I am a sucker. I'm a sucker for a good title card.
I would say I told you that when I saw
or a good opening. You could even.
I was gonna say when I saw Love Exposure, which is gonna be on a future episode. I'm gonna force them to watch it. There's like a whole 30-minute segment, or it feels like 30 minutes. They play Maurice Ravel's Bolero, which is like this amazing, song, classical music. And then it just says Love Exposure after like this whole thing.
That's awesome.
Like that's fucking
I'll tell you who has some great title cards. I think probably after like Halloween, most of John Carpenter's movies open with John Carpenter's blank.
You like that?
Like because it's like all black. They're very uniform in like the way I feel like his movies open. It'll say John Carpenter's.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I mean, really, like the Dance in the Dark one blew me away. I thought.
I love that. I bring that up because I know that's awesome. I bring that up because I love a good title card.
Yeah, me too.
All right, ready for me to? No,
I haven't even talked about Dance. All right, so here we go. Dance in the Dark. I mean, some people feel like it's like manipulative, like almost like depression porn. I don't know. I might have to bleep that word. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but
what?
I don't know.
Prawn.
Yeah, Prawn. But it's I mean, it's incredible. It really is. It's so fascinating. I saw a review that was like, none of it should work, but somehow it does, and that's exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I really don't, because he hasn't seen the movie, I really don't want to get into what the movie's about, because even the name Dance in the Dark is like perfect for it. But it is truly like you will bawl, like you will cry at that movie. Like if I listen to one of the songs, like it's particularly one that's called I've Seen Everything. Like it would literally probably make me tear up thinking about it, because it's like, but it's great. Like I love Von Trier because he is a manipulative director. Like he knows what he's able to do with the story, and he like breaks conventions so well, and it's just like it's really impressive. That being said, I mean, this is common knowledge now. Bjork has written after when the Me Too stuff came out. Bjork wrote and was like, I experienced like emotional abuse from a particular director, and everybody's like, it was. Definitely.
Well, what other movies has she been in?
Exactly. Well, she had somebody I listened to. I want to say it's Sardonicast did an episode about. Have you ever heard Sardonicast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't listened to much of them. I had a friend who liked them a lot. But that's no shade, and I'm sure they're great.
No, I listen to quite a lot of Sardonicast.
Yeah. So. They did an episode with Anthony Fantano, the needle drop.
Oh wow!
We've been doing a bunch of shout outs to other films. But
we're big time, so we can.
He was like, "Yeah, Bjork hasn't been in the movie," and you just said that. That's not true. She's been in a movie called The Juniper Tree.
Well, I didn't say that's the only movie she's been in, but if she's saying like a director treating me badly, it's like how many movies has she actually been in? It's like probably a handful, and like some of them, if she's in more than like 10 movies, I bet some of them are cameos. There's no. She's how
in
many
the
movies?
Northman. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen
is she like a working actress? Like I thought she's not in a lot of
I think it's just
stuff.
special parts.
Yeah,
But
they're like
speaking of special
cameos.
parts,
Yeah,
this is what I was going to say about Dance in the Dark is Catherine Deneuve is incredible in it, and it's
it's
funny
good.
because I watched this behind the scenes with Lars von Trier, and he talks about how Catherine Deneuve, after Breaking Waves, like wrote him a letter and was like, "I'm a big fan of yours. Can I have an eensy beensy teeny weeny bit in one of your movies?" And he was like, "No, you can't, but you can have a huge part." And then, of course, she's in Dance in the Dark. And he said, "This is we might cut this out," but he said he was like, "Yeah, originally the role was supposed to be like a like a '40s black woman, but Catherine Deneuve didn't feel comfortable putting on like charcoal paint
That's
or something
funny.
like." And like even saying that, you're like, "Oh yeah, this guy is like kind of an
He's a little
asshole."
tongue in
Yeah,
cheek.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
for
should
sure.
shout out to kind of exactly related to our topic. He probably wanted Catherine Deneuve in his movie because of films like Belle de Jour and
Belle de
Repulsion.
Jour and Repulsion. Yes,
Repulsion.
exactly,
Is
for
she
sure.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg as well?
She's in Umbrellas of
So I would
Cherbourg.
say like probably
Young
those are the
Rose of
big
Rochefort.
three. I mean, she's a legend certainly.
Yeah, she's incredible, and she's so good in the movie, man. The thing is, it is manipulation because it's like Bjork's character is so wholesome, and it's impressive. And a lot of people might disagree with this take, but it's impressive how you see so little, like the way he cuts. And I'm going to talk about the next one I watched, Tree of Life. Spoiler, but like the way Malick cuts films and edits versus what Von
Well,
Trier does and
Malick
edits.
is a notorious editor.
Well, that's like Von Trier.
Like the
Von
most
Trier,
notorious
there's like
film.
interviews where Lars von Trier is like, I don't want anything reason. He's like, I only want emotion. And it is like you meet these characters so quickly, like it's crazy. But that he does just enough with. I want to say something, but I don't know if it's going to spoil it for you. There's just a scene.
I've seen the ending. I've seen the ending.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But
That's
anyways,
good.
she loves musicals. That's a big part of Bjork. Bjork loves musicals, and she's supposed to be the star of musical, and she can't be. And there's a scene that's so minute where she has to give up, like, I can't be, sorry, I don't care as much. And like you can tell it breaks her heart. And they're like, well, we do have a small bit for like the janitor lady, but there's no singing and she's pretty serious. And then like Bjork like is like laughing, like smiling at the director, being like, well, she can be a little bit funny, like and it's like you just like care for that character, like it's like you want good things to happen. And Von Trier is like, it's just he destroys this character, and you're like, so it's manipulative. But that being said, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was. I mean, Lars von Trier is like one of my favorite working directors. Dogville, incredible. I know he's always in hot water. The Mike Melancholia debacle where he tried to make a joke and it came off really poorly. And I'm not saying he's a good person. I've even heard. So there's a movie, or it's like a special feature. It's called Dogville Sessions. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's like 40 minutes long.
I have Dogville on DVD, I think.
No, I wonder have it on DVD. I can let you borrow it because I bought it.
I have Synecdoche, New York, which I haven't seen either of them, but I associate those two kind of together.
Like Dance Dark, if you want to cry or feel really bummed out, watch Synecdoche, New York.
Fair enough.
And actually, cut back to Sardonicast, that guy, Your Movie Sucks, who runs Sardonicast, I know that's like one of his, because he talks about that a lot in that episode. But yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of me for talking about. Watch Dogville. That's what I'll say.
All right. That's what he has to say.
I can't recommend Dance in the Dark. I can recommend Dogville.
Before I break into this next film I've watched, would you grab me?
Yeah, I know this is a little messier episode.
Hey, but this is off the cuff. This is real.
This might be better, just being more.
Yeah. So I need to crack a beer for this next film I'm going to talk about, and let's talk about manipulative directors, because I'm going to talk about the biggest. In my opinion, this is going to be a very hot take. Steven Spielberg.
You think he's manipulative?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
He's so manipulative. He loves to manipulate a good. He loves to manipulate wholesomeness or whatever your adjectives would be for kind of that idea. And the film I watched of Steven Spielberg's is AI, Artificial Intelligence, a big one to talk about.
Yeah.
In his filmography, because it is fucking weird. It is bizarre. Okay, and I have to preface this by saying I do not like the film. I did not like it. I gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, but I really did not like it that much at all. but a lot of people I very much respect their movie opinions, like people I look to for good movie recommendations, opinions whatsoever, rate AI very, very highly
I was gonna
amongst the
say, I think it's
Spielberg
kind of a
canon.
popular one.
It is. It is. Um, it is bizarre. It is so strange, especially for him. The thing, I'll say this, the ultimate thing I think that makes me not like the film is it has this kind of left turn ending, um, which I think the powerfulness of the ending. So I'll say this first too. The film is, Steven Spielberg is known for his kind of sappy, more wholesome vibes, right? Like he's very much a family film creator. And I think the people that really rep AI and say that's one of the best Spielberg movies understand that it is not supposed to be a family wholesome movie as it appears to be. It is supposed to be unsettling, and it is almost a horror movie at times.
Because I haven't seen it, which is I know I hate how much we haven't seen each other's movies, but I know that Stanley Kubrick really wanted to direct it.
Well, Stanley Kubrick was going to direct it, and he died.
And he died.
So he wrote the script, I believe. So this was Stanley Kubrick's movie until this is another crazy bit of trivia, and I know this because of shout out Blank Check podcast. Martin Scorsese. Oh no, sorry, that was about Schindler's List. Cut
No,
that.
no, we're never keeping it in.
Well, did you know this? Okay, this is a crazy fact I just learned from this podcast. Martin Scorsese, because Spielberg bought the script to Schindler's List or bought the rights to the book and was going to make it, but he couldn't figure out how to do it. So he got Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese was going to direct Schindler's List and was working on it. And Spielberg was going to direct Cape Fear, the remake.
Wow.
And they switched movies.
Thank God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I don't think Cape Fear would have been as good if Spielberg directed.
No, and Schindler's List probably wouldn't have been as good if they've. But sorry, AI. Yes, Kubrick. That was his movie. That was his follow up after Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut. But he died very soon. Like I feel like he died during.
He died during
while Eyes Wide Shut was coming out. But yes,
people say that they changed the ending because of it.
But AI was supposed to be his next film, and Spielberg took it over. And the thing why I find the ending falls flat is I do think the accurate assessment of the movie is, and like I said, the people that champion this movie are probably the biggest, the most vocal I see about this, that it is an unsettling movie, and it's supposed to be unsettling. But in my opinion, the ending falls flat because to be affected by the ending, and it's supposed to be a sad ending. I think it's supposed to, and the whole movie itself is very sad and it's very unsettling. But I think to have the ending affect you in the most substantial way, you really need to find some sympathy or empathy, I guess, with Haley Joel Osment's character.
Because he's a child AI robot.
Yes, he is a robot. And right. I don't find that at all. I find him deeply unsettling. I find nothing about his, maybe it's his performance. I don't want to diss.
Have you seen The Sixth Sense?
Yes, The Sixth Sense is amazing. Yeah. Haley Joel Osment, obviously a fantastic actor. So I don't even know if it's just the performance, the script, but like, I find nothing, and it might just be Haley Joel Osment too, but I find nothing redeeming about his character. And for the ending to pay off, you do, like, I think to appreciate the movie the most, you have to understand that it is an unsettling and kind of a dark, not kind of, it is a dark film. But for the ending to pay off in the most substantial way, I think you do also have to buy into, like, you feel bad for this guy or this robot. Because all he wants is a mom that loves him. And so the ending of the movie is very sad. But I do think
that is manipulative.
Like, it is. And like, I think
like
Spielberg,
it's like, oh, this is a robot, but then it's like, oh, it's a child.
Spielberg can't help but like, and maybe this is intentional, it probably is, but to interject some of like that wholesomeness, like that family value he tries to bring out, I feel like, but like, I find Haley Joel Osment so off-putting. Like I just find, and like his whole quest to get his mother to love him, like I just find the whole thing, I'm like, I don't want this mother to love this like robot. Like he sucks. Funny. He's creepy. He's weird. And like, so I do think like the people that love the movie the ending pays off for them in a way because they sympathize with Haley Joel Osment's character. But I find him way too off-putting to find any sympathy with the character.
That's a
And
good review of it.
I think
actually
I think that's
appreciate
why
you
it doesn't land for me. It's because it does have this kind of crazy, like the whole movie is crazy. It is very wild. It came from Steven Spielberg.
Nice,
But
good to know. Okay, well,
that's
that
my
makes me
take
wanna
on
watch it.
AI.
That kind of makes me want to.
You should. It's weird. It
so
is
that's
weird.
one that I should watch.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You should watch just because I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
See, I like
And it should be noted,
we,
people love this movie now. At the time, I think
Right.
this was like heavily derided, which maybe should have been, but in our day and age, it has certainly seen a critical reevaluation.
Well, certainly, I mean, AI is more prominent now. I like these reviews because, or the recently watched because we all have ones that's like I would recommend The Celebration. I would recommend what I'm about to talk about, Tree of Life. I don't know if I could recommend Dance with the Dark. And like for you, it's the same way. Where you're like, I wouldn't recommend this, but I would. Okay, last one then, and then we can get to the story. Right, that's your last of recently watched.
I have two more. I'll spit them out
Okay.
quick. You want me to spit them out, or
no? I'll just do this really quick, and then we can finish it. Tree of Life, Terrence Malick, watched it. Really enjoyed it. I think that's for people consider that a modern masterpiece. I mean, I saw The Hidden Life early at the Nashville Film Festival. I got like a
wow,
pre-screening of it, and I remember we come out of the movie, and they're like, "Oh, so do you have any thoughts on the movie?" And me and this guy were like, "Yeah, we have some thoughts," and they were like, "We don't." They didn't want to talk.
that's funny.
Which is fine. I mean, I probably should rewatch Hidden Life. I'd like it more. It's a beautifully shot film, and that's similar to Tree of Life. There's something Malick does that's really interesting, where he's much more interested in the beauty of life. Like, obviously it's like beautiful shots of like people walking down the street.
I think of the shots in Thin Red Line, like the beginning with like the cuts of Jim Caviezel on the island, or my favorite shot in the movie, and I'm going to bring this movie up again with our topic, but when it's John C. Reilly walking on like the island, and it shows like the native like passing him, and it's like that, cut of
yeah, he's great. I mean, for real, Malick is as I watched Tree of Life, I was like, we're so lucky to have Malick as a director, because he really is very metaphysical, like kind of like a modern day Tarkovsky. I know that's such an interesting.
No, that's that goes into our topic.
Yeah. He's very theological. The Tree of Life is very theological. There's one thing that's really funny about the Tree of Life is there's a random scene, not random, but it's like going back in time, and he like CGI's these dinosaurs. And it's like, man, like it's such a bold take for a director, but it's like, I don't know if it holds up. Just
right.
CGI looks bad.
He might have been like just a few years ahead of his time on like, or too, maybe not ahead of his time, but too adventurous or too,
right. But besides that, I mean, I love the way his films, and The Hidden Life was like this too, and Thin Red Line is like this too. A lot of his modern films, like, I'm not talking about Badlands, I'm not talking about Days of Heaven, but his more, recent films, it's a lot of the talking is going to be characters alone, and they're speaking out loud, or it's like overdone, and it's like their inner monologues.
It's cool.
Like a lot of Tree of Life is like people talking to God,
right?
Which I kind of love.
Interesting.
I love like how much beauty is in it, and like, and that's what's funny is like because he definitely CGI's planets. There's like parts with planets and like the surface of the sun and this fire, and it works so well.
It's awesome,
and it's awesome too. Talking about theological. So much of the overtone is like almost like hymns, like it's like beautiful singing, and then it's like these extravagant images. But I think it works. I think it's really good. It's really a study of like boyhood,
right?
Like it's like a guy dies in the army, and then his parents are Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain, and then you're seeing him as a boy grow up, and Sean Penn is one of his brothers.
Well, and that's a good segue. Speaking of hymns, that takes us into today's sponsor.
Yeah, him.
Sorry, just a cheeky joke.
No, I don't have more to say.
We're trying to keep things a little lighter.
Modern masterpiece.
Hence the late night episode.
I respect Malick. I know this is going to be more of a messy episode, but I think I might be.
But it might be good. It might be people want to see us off the cuff.
Yeah,
a
little
bit.
Keep drinking. So.
All
right.
So I'm gonna just go through my last two that are recent watches. This next one I don't have a ton to say about, but I do really like it, and I would recommend it. Grab me one too. Mm-hmm. I do really like it, and I would recommend it as a watch. Is David Ayer's End of Watch. the film starring Jake Gyllenhaal and everybody's favorite Scientologist, Michael Pena.
Michael Pena.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are cops. They are partners. It's kind of shot. It's a lot of it's shot through like this kind of predates body cam,
Body
but
cam.
like,
Yeah, I
but like
remember
it's that type of footage. It's kind of like a found footage shot movie. I don't have a ton to say about it, but I really liked it. It's really intense. It's just kind of a good little suspenseful in and out film. It's got a great ending. You know, it kind of takes you on some unexpected turns. Like I said, I don't have a ton to say about it, like critically,
Would
but
you compare it to Training Day?
yeah, I think that's a very
I remember when I saw
apt
the
comparison.
trailer, that's what I thought of.
That's a very apt comparison, and it is a movie that I feel like is getting a little bit more love in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's pretty highly rated amongst. Yeah, I hate to like just reference Letterboxd ratings, but it is like a decently rated Letterboxd film. So people do enjoy it, and I quite liked it as well. It's just a good suspenseful kind of in and out. You know, I don't think it was more than like an hour 20 or hour 20, excuse me. You know, it was way less than 2 hours. It was it was a good in and out. I don't want to say 90 minutes because I don't know exactly how long it is, but it did not feel like a long film.
A good in and out. I like that.
Yeah. And just suspenseful, it keeps you hooked. It's a fun movie. And that's weird to say it's a fun movie because it is very dark. And then the last film I'll talk about is one that my most recent watch, but I am eager to discuss, is the Coen Brothers, A Serious Man. Now, I loved this movie.
Good. I told you. I've been telling him to watch this movie because everybody talks about the Coen Brothers, and they're amazing. They have so many great films. Obviously, Fargo, No Country for Old Men, Big Lebowski, Raising Arizona, A Brother Where Art Thou. But I always say to people, I'm like, watch a series because it's like an underrated one by them.
It is. It is.
Really,
it is an underrated one. It is very funny.
Was
it's
nominated
dark.
For Best Picture.
It's dark. It was nominated for Best Picture and Best Writing. Only 2 Oscar nominations. One, I was going to shout out my next thing about the movie. I was going to shout out great performances in it. I was surprised Michael Stuhlbarg was not nominated for Best Actor for it because he's fantastic. The other great performance in it is Fred Malamed, who plays the wife's lover.
Yeah.
And he is such a fucker in the movie. Like every scene he's in, you just like wish he would get socked in the face. But he is so funny. It is such a funny performance. It is such a funny performance. The first time he sees him, he hugs him. He's like, hey, everything's gonna be better. Like he's just feeding him all this bullshit. It's so funny.
That's a slept on one, man.
Oh, it is. It is. It's kind of dark. It's genuinely about a guy's life falling apart and him losing his mind. Yeah, and like so, like it is a wonderful,
very Jewish film.
Oh yeah, it is a very.
It's like almost like an ancient tale in like the.
Oh well, yes, because the beginning of the film is this wonderful scene. Talk about this isn't the title card, but like the opening scene of the movie is this wonderful scene set in like, who knows, like the 1300s or some ancient times with, this man the wife thinks is a devil or a demon come back to haunt them because she claims the guy's already died. And it's just this wonderful sequence of them talking it out. She ends up stabbing the guy and he like slowly saunters out and it's never resolved. The intro is not resolved, but it kind of gives you the sense of like, oh, this guy is just cursed from the get-go, you know? And I love the ending of the film where it ends with, after all of his shit has gone down, things kind of finally seem like they might be on the up and up. The guy, his wife's lover, dies in a car accident. He has to.
Well, that's what we were talking on the phone about it, and I was like, I love the scene of like in tandem. Which I will say this: the celebration is a good moment of that, which is impressive when you think about it. But they have a moment where like 3 things happen at once,
right?
And that's like,
the Coen Brothers. I mean, we'll get more into this in a second, but like, yes, the scene Nathan's referring to, where it's Fred Malamed and Michael Stuhlbarg both driving, and it's like it's interspliced with the wife's lover is driving his Cadillac. He's literally wearing a matching suit, the same color as his car. He's going to the golf course, driving through the countryside, and Michael Stuhlbarg is driving in traffic and bumper to bumper traffic. And then he sees the Asian kid that is like suing him for like fraud. And like he gets in an accident, and then the other guy, it doesn't show it, but he ends up dying in the car accident. But I love the ending of the film too, where it finally seems like things are on the up and up, and then he gets a phone call from his doctor, and he says, "We need to look at these X-rays." He's like, "Come right now." And then the last shot of the film is his son outside with his because he has the Walkman, or it's not, it's predates that. The film's from takes place in the 60s. And then it's the tornado like coming towards him, and that's the last shot of the film.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It's incredible.
And then another there's so many good scenes around like the Walkman too, because there's the scene where he's listening in class and in like Jewish school, and like the guy rips it out and it starts playing White Rabbit, I think it's a song by Jefferson Starship, and then it all comes or Jefferson Airplane, because then it all comes full circle, because then at his bar mitzvah, which we should also talk about, is a great, just a fucking fantastic Coen Brothers scene when the son goes up to his bar mitzvah and he's stoned. And it's intense. It's a scary scene. It's scary.
I think we talked about it on the last episode, the scene in Lost Highway where Bo Pullman like fails to perform having sex with Patricia Arquette, and she pats him back, and that's like you're in the horror of the character's mind, and like that's a very similar of like you're in the horror. He's like, I'm high and I'm going up for my bar mitzvah. Yeah, I love that. I love like directors who can do that, like create a sense of horror around like the character. That
it's a terrifying scene of him. You see him smoking. It shows that he smoked like 3 joints in the bathroom with his friend, and then it shows. I love the red eye effect in this movie too, because every time the kid gets high, his like eyes are like, it's just great makeup. And then he goes up to read the Torah, and it's like all these old Jewish men. It's very scary and it's intimidating. He doesn't read it at first, like they're having to help him, and then he finally belts it out. But the scene I love so much, it might be my favorite scene in the film, is the intro, the beginning is him with the radio in class, and he rips it off and it's playing White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. And then at the end, when he goes to meet the very old rabbi, if you know what I'm talking about, the rabbi's giving him like the bar mitzvah speech, and like you kind of don't know what he's talking about the whole speech, and then he starts naming off names, and he goes, "These are the members of Airplane," and then he hands him the radio. It says, "Be a good boy," because the whole movie he's been trying to get the radio back from his teacher and he can't find it. And I just think that's such a brilliant, I love the Coen Brothers, and that's such a brilliant it's such a brilliant payoff of, you want him to get this radio back, and then in kind of the most intense scene of the movie, it just breaks the tension with the rabbi saying, "These are the names of the airplane." Like, it's funny because it shows him listening to the music too. But I think if we could go off on a little side tangent here,
sure.
What would be our favorite top 5 Coen Brothers movies?
Yeah.
I think I have an easy 5 for myself.
Okay.
You want me to name off?
Yeah.
Number 1, Fargo. Number 2, No Country for Old Men. Number 3, Big Lebowski. Number 4, Miller's Crossing. And then I would put Serious Man at 5.
See, I need to rewatch Miller's Crossing, but I would probably say No Country for Old Men, Big Lebowski, Fargo, A Serious Man, and then The Man Who Wasn't There, which is another kind of like, you'll watch that one.
I have not seen that one.
See, that's another one like A Serious Man. You'll watch and be like, oh, this is, they're so, Barton Fink's great. Raising Arizona, incredible. They're all so good.
Oh, they're fantastic. Coen Brothers are some of my favorite directors. I think the more I watch of them, the more I realize, Blood Simple's great. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Brother, Art Thou.
So many good ones. Burn After Reading.
I know. And it's funny, when we were making this, I was looking at my Letterboxd, I was like, man, I forgot Burn After Reading.
Yeah.
That's like a dark one. That's like
one. But all of theirs are so dark. That's like what true. That's true. That is like more so than any director. They are the black comedy like.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of another one. Okay, well, let's get into the topic. God, God knows how long. Alrighty. Okay, we are back.
All right, everybody, we're back. I just want to say, first and foremost, if anybody is still listening, probably not. I apologize for the first half of this episode. It sounds like I'm screaming into the mic.
Yeah, we had to learn. The previous episode kind of sounded like 2. I've tried to move these down. Hopefully that helps.
Podcast episode ever.
So with time, we've got first episode's garbage as far as like the way the audio sounds and the setting.
First episode is unreleased. You'll never see it.
Well, the true first, that's like the test.
Okay,
but
yeah.
The first episode's in my place, and it doesn't.
A bit of lore for you, if anybody's.
Oh yeah. But now we've got a good setup. We're getting the audio working. Things are getting better. Anyways, so the
Don't let me scream at you.
well, I'm gonna cut this. All right. So now we get to the meat of the episode, and the meat of the episode is, if you like this movie, or in my case, some TV shows, you'll like this older. Right. Okay. Let's start it off. Number one, we talked about the Safdie brothers. Good Time, Uncut Gems. If you like those, you will like After Hours, Martin Scorsese, cult classic, takes place one night. There's no way that they weren't inspired by that film. Also, you mentioned
easy comparison to Good Times.
right. You mentioned The Hot Rock.
Yes, The Hot Rock, Peter Yates film with Robert Redford and George Segal, a guy I'm a huge fan of. R.I.P. recently departed. But it's a heist movie about them trying to get a diamond, and it's so frantic, it's so up paced, it's very funny too. It just screams the Safdie's sensibilities in both
Right.
Good Times and Uncut Gems.
Exactly. And I would say another thing, I've seen this before, this comparison of their previous movie to Good Time, Heaven Knows What, and this movie Panic in Needle Park, and then they compared Good Time to this movie Scarecrow. I have not seen any of those movies. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you've seen any of those movies either.
Scarecrow. I haven't seen
Really?
it.
It's
No.
Pacino.
Pacino and Hackman.
Hackman. That's right. Yeah. Interesting. I like to watch those.
It's a hangout movie, as they like to say.
Nice. Well, Good Time is not a hangout movie.
No, it is not.
Good Time is on the edge of your seat movie.
All
right. Well,
and another movie I'll mention for that is Night in the City.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a huge Safdie's brother influence. That's a really old movie. That's 50s, black and white. But it is one of and we have other topics. We're going to talk more about this, but it's a black and white. It's a classic movie that feels like it has the pacing of a modern film.
Nice.
I think that's probably what they picked from.
And that will be an episode at one point. Black and white movies that feel more modern. All right. Next up, I got a quick one. This is Saltburn. Saltburn was very popular. People loved it.
Well, everybody watched it.
I don't know if everybody liked it. And this is kind of, there's not as much of a connection as he mentioned Barry Lyndon, which I love Barry Lyndon. I don't know if I compare the two. I mean, I guess you could. Barry Lyndon is more of an epic.
I have a really good one for comparison.
Okay, well, I was saying the piano teacher, Michael Haneke's piano teacher, not for similarities in what happens, but in like the morbid curiosity of the viewer. If you like a movie like Saltburn, where you are shocked at what you see and like the way things go, you will like the piano teacher, and that is a promise.
The one I just thought of, I think this is a good one, is Ken Russell's Women in Love.
That is a good one.
Yeah. I think that is actually great.
Shout out Oliver Reed, man.
Yes. Shout out Oliver Reed. We love us some Reed. I
particularly.
R.I.P. I'm just gonna shout out drunk British actors. My favorite. That's my favorite category of actors. It's like a good.
That's right.
Brit. Richard Harris.
Okay, what's next for you? I have another one. But this is more of a pretentious one.
So my next one, I was gonna talk about Nolan.
Yeah.
Kind of just in general. But we can get more specific. But like, I feel like Nolan has a lot of great influences that are easily accessible and maybe not as niche as some of the other films we'll talk about. But particularly Dark Knight, probably his best movie. I may be a little partial, to Inception. But Dark Knight is a Heat remake, kind of.
So I'll say, we put Dark Knight Heat. I'll say really quickly, the whole base episode came from the Film Pope, and I like that he posted Oppenheimer, and then he said The Conversation, which I thought was pretty interesting. I have not seen Oppenheimer, but I have seen The Conversation.
Nolan is certainly a Coppola fan. I think Apocalypse Now is pretty present in his work. Some other films we talked about, Malick, Thin Red Line is certainly a huge influence on Nolan, and if you like Dunkirk, Thin Red Line is probably his biggest influence.
That's a good point.
Heavily influenced by Blade Runner, and I think that's an easy comparison. If you like Nolan's work, I think you'll like Blade Runner.
Yeah, for sure. But see, Blade Runner, it's funny because to me, like Blade Runner would be like anybody who watches this would probably have seen at least 2049.
I agree. We're just saying.
Right.
The biggest one I think you have to mention with Nolan is classic James Bond.
Absolutely.
That is his biggest. He has, his lifelong ambition, I suppose, is to direct a James Bond film. He hasn't done it because they don't give him enough control, is my understanding.
Interesting.
They're very they own the property. They're
Right.
very protective of the property, I should say. But classic James Bond, especially the Connerys, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service is a big one.
Yeah,
Inception.
yeah.
The whole winter sequence in Inception is inspired by the ski sequence in On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, but also Inception's inspired by Paprika.
Certainly, yes. Paprika would be a good one too. That is a slightly older film.
Right, and here's what I was gonna say too,
Inception,
because we can go into that because I said Paprika. The Film Pope talked about Black Swan being inspired by the Red Shoes, which I have not seen, but Black Swan, because I don't know, it makes me think Paprika was also definitely inspired by Perfect Blue.
Oh,
in
good
fact,
one.
Aronofsky like purchased the rights to
Oh, well,
Perfect
of course,
Blue.
yeah.
So
And
like,
there are scenes in Black Swan that are shot-for-shot remakes of scenes in Perfect Blue.
Well, that's
The scene in the
Inception. There are
bathtub,
scenes
yeah.
in Inception that are
They're
shot-for-shot remakes of Paprika. Yeah.
And on the Black Swan, I'll say one more too. Is Performance, the Nicholas Roeg film.
I have not seen that with Mick Jagger.
With Mick Jagger, it's kind of. I think you could draw the parallels. I'm not going to say it's an influence or like a predecessor, but I think it kind of follows the same lines. And then the last one I'll kind of save for that, just because I don't know how similar these movies are, but like I want to shout out this movie because it's a masterpiece. But it's like kind of the idea of like a dark stage movie is All That Jazz.
I got to see that.
All That Jazz.
See, okay.
Masterpiece. Very dark movie, dark ending, but it is kind of like about like haunted stage performers, I guess.
See, I would like to say this. One of the movies, when we talk about, I want to do an episode where it's I recommend 3 movies to him, he recommends 3 movies to me. And I feel like that would be one he would recommend me. Would be All That Jazz.
That is like
I need to see that.
Such a
okay, so this is a more pretentious one, and similar to what I said about the Blade Runner, comment. I think this is a movie that if you've seen this one, you've probably seen the other. But if you like The Great Beauty, you should definitely see 8.5. But I can't imagine there's anybody out there who
more people would have seen 8.5 than The Great Beauty.
But that's what I mean. If you've seen The Great Beauty, you've probably seen 8.5. Agreed. Another one we've talked about is John Wick. It's a very popular film for any of you.
Can I speak to this topic?
Yes,
perhaps?
please.
I would like to fancy myself the more expert on this. The easy parallel with John Wick, John Woo films. Hard Boiled, The Killer, A Better Tomorrow. It's a very clear lineage of where John Wick came from, and it is the John Woo masterpieces, the early ones. I would shout out especially Hard Boiled and The Killer.
The Killer's
absolute. They are absolute action masterpieces. Anybody who's an action fan, you have to watch them to consider yourself such.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that. Text, and John Wick is such a clear modern successor of them because it takes the bullet foo, right? It's straight up out of those movies.
Bullet opera,
yeah, or the gun foo.
Gun foo, yeah. Yes. Right on. Okay, cool. This one, there's really not much context. I would just say, if you've seen Triangle of Sadness, you should watch City of God. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to go into too much detail. I just remember thinking Triangle of Sadness I really enjoyed, and City of God I also really enjoyed.
Well, if you had Netflix,
that may be a terrible one.
Netflix and you were in college between 2014 and 2018.
Yeah. If you had Netflix, when Netflix was really popping off, you've probably seen City of God. Good point. Here's a good one though. Prisoners. Okay. Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners. If you love that, if you like that, you've probably heard of Parasite. Bong Joon-ho and Parasite. I'm not going to recommend Parasite. Memories of Murder, which you need to watch.
Earlier Bong Joon-ho.
That is, yes, very in line with Prisoners to me. Because it's both like kind of detective, dark. Very good.
Zodiac? But that's like another movie we could put as like the...
Right. Totally. Honestly, that might even be a better one than Prisoners. Just be like Zodiac, Memories of Murder. Honestly, yes. That's, oh my God. Wow. This is on camera. Zodiac, Memories of Murder would be even better than Prisoners, Memories of Murder. Wow. Hell yeah. Thank you for saying that.
Well, and hey, while we're talking about Zodiac, let's talk about another Fincher film we were going to discuss. And this breaks the rules because the movie we're going to recommend is actually more recent than...
we should talk about that one.
But Seven... The 1990 film Seven. If you like that,
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman,
the 1997 Japanese horror Cure, Cure.
Cure is like.
Cure is a masterpiece.
You talked about Martin. I think Martin Scorsese says that's like one of his favorite films.
It's widely, it's one of those films that's like widely adored by other filmmakers.
And it's one where, and it'll lead us into another segue I'm going to talk about. But it's one of those movies where we watched together with another one of our friends who hopefully will be a call-in at some point. He lives in Charleston now, so he's not. If he didn't live in Charleston now, he would be like a part of the show.
Right.
But we watched it being like, oh yeah, this might be pretty good. And then it just like blew my mind watching that movie. I was like, this is like one of the best movies. But a similar one to this is kind of like where, some lore for this podcast is. I remember we were in college and you were like, hey, I have this Swedish movie on my computer. It's supposed to be really good. And it was Persona. And Persona like blew my mind.
Because we should say at the time, we were watching movies. Like
I had seen Mulholland Drive actually before that.
Hardcore, like, and I hate to say that we are now, but like.
No, I think we are.
Pretentious, like we were not hardcore film buffs at the time, but I said, hey, I've heard of this like Swedish movie, pretty crazy, like let's give it a shot. I knew it was gonna be black and white, obviously not in English. Shout out Pirate Bay, where I received that copy.
I wasn't gonna say that, but you can,
That will date us.
We were broke kids in college.
Yeah.
But anyways, the reason I brought that up is because the Film Pope's post was Mulholland Drive Persona, which is the easiest connection.
There's a lot in Mulholland Drive.
But that's what I was gonna say. I compared Inherent Vice to The Long Goodbye. But I would also compare.
Oh, I was just gonna say the whole PTA to Altman.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna compare. I guess this isn't PTA, but Mulholland Drive to Three Women. Yes. But then on top of that, PTA to Altman, I have Magnolia to Shortcuts. And that's like maybe if people are like into that stuff and they watch it, they would know like Robert Altman congratulated Paul Thomas Anderson on Magnolia when he won some Oscars. He might have won Best Picture. I can't remember. No. But he won maybe Best Director or something. Yeah, and he literally said to Robert Altman, he's like, I just remade your movie Shortcuts. And it's like, yeah, that's true.
PTA, if you like PTA at all, you should watch the Altman Essentials. Nashville, Long Goodbye.
Shortcuts.
Three Women.
McCabe, Miss Miller. Yeah.
Yep. Watch the Altman Essentials.
Even if you just watch Altman Essentials, like they're great.
And hey, let's lump this in too. If you like Wes Anderson, you'll probably like Robert Altman too.
You think so?
Oh, I think Nashville. I feel like that's a huge Wes Anderson influence. Like,
yeah.
Think about like the casting. Too.
Right. Sort of the extravagance of it. Yeah.
All different stories.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Heat,
all right,
Wes Anderson, very vocal fan.
Well, give me do you have any more? Because I got a few more.
I got some more. Knives Out. Everybody liked Knives Out, right? Recently.
I liked it. I liked the Glass Onion too.
I'm saying that the two movies that spring immediately to mind thinking of Knives Out, and obviously, first and foremost would be the Agatha Christie adaptations. Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, the early Poirot adaptations.
But there's also remakes of those.
Yes, there is. There's the Kenneth Branagh remakes of those films.
The Armie Hammer.
Yes. But Knives Out.
Fan of the show, friend of the show, Armie Hammer.
Friend of the show, Armie Hammer. He would have made it tonight, but he's having dinner out.
Yeah.
The easy comparisons to Knives Out are Clue, obviously, and Sleuth. Michael Caine, Laurence Olivier.
Right, I think Clue film. Is. If you haven't seen Clue, Clue is just like I watched Clue with my wife, and like we both were like, she's not as pretentious as I am, and we both like absolutely loved Clue. And Clue is it's very much Knives Out.
Certainly, and then obviously all the Agatha Christie stuff.
Right.
This could be a little slower.
Okay, so here's I got a couple ones I'm gonna throw out that I think are good, like really good ones for. This is like if people stumble upon this. I mean, we don't have any fans yet, which is fine.
Right.
But I just mean like if normal people who don't give a shit about movies stumble upon this.
We'll have lost them
Severance.
About 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll make a short. Maybe we'll clip this.
Yeah.
Severance. If you like Severance, the show, which I've seen, I thought it was pretty good. Ben Stiller directed. Brazil. You should watch the film Brazil. Terry Gilliam, Monty Python, also a
Very
comedic
parallel.
a comedic actor who became a director. Vince Stiller, comedic actor, became director.
You like De
Fantastic.
Niro?
Yeah. De Niro's in
De
it.
Niro's in it.
Hoskins.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins.
Bob
of
Hoskins is in it.
course, like one of the funniest
But then the other one that came to mind right before we cut, White Lotus. If you like White Lotus, you should watch Happiness by Todd Solondz. Because White Lotus is all about the vices of these characters. It's like salacious. It's like, oh, what are they gonna do? Todd Solondz
Salacious.
is like the king of that. With Happiness, Welcome to the Dollhouse, Life During Wartime, which it's you might hate that stuff. I really liked Happiness when I watched it.
Yeah.
I was a fan. So those are some other ones. And then the last, well, I have two more, but they're one we would talk about together.
I'm out. So
All right,
keep them
the one we would talk about together, and this is like a common one for film fans: Hereditary, Ari Aster. Don't Look Now, Nicholas
Don't
Rowe.
Look
We
Now.
should have
Don't Look
segued
Now.
earlier with
This
performance.
is probably like this is a big one because Hereditary makes direct reference to Don't Look Now in the girl wearing the parka, the yellow parka. It's a direct reference.
Yeah,
to
and
the
I was
film.
gonna say, there's some interview where Ari Aster literally says, like verbatim, it's the Criterion Closet,
Yeah.
where he's literally like verbatim, like Hereditary would never have happened without Don't Look Now, and it makes sense because it's like it's the idea of a horror film, but really more so it's a family drama.
They feel like of the same genre.
They are.
Like
It's literally like family
they
drama
feel like
horror.
of a same genre, and like Don't
Right.
Look Now feels like the kind of original of like, and I hate this term. I hate that I'm going to use this term, but like elevated horror. Like it's not.
No.
But
I mean, what we were talking about earlier.
They feel of the same.
Those bits of like Lost Highway, not performing with your partner who you think is cheating on you, or you have to go up and speak in front of all these people you respect, and you're like stoned. Like that is elevated horror.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like you're embodying a sense of horror that is like very personal to the character, but people might be like, I identify with exactly what that is.
Right. And yeah, Don't Look Now. Just it literally like if you even condensed horror into more specific genres, it feels like of the same. Like it feels cut of the same cloth, certainly. And then what was the other Hereditary one you had?
I didn't have another Hereditary one. I have a there's one I was thinking about. Something with Midsommar. Oh, Midsommar and Possession.
Oh well, the biggest Midsommar parallel is Wicker Man.
Wicker Man. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Wicker Man is like
Midsommar and Wicker Man. That's
Wicker
even
Man
better.
is to
Dude, you've been
Midsommar.
killing it this episode.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I'll do a recap at the end here. The last one I had was Being John Malkovich, which this is another one kind of like Great Beauty and Half. It's like if you've seen Being John Malkovich, you've probably heard of The Double Life of Veronique. It's like a very strange Polish movie, but like I saw Being John Malkovich. I absolutely loved it. Spike Jonze is the man. Mannequins. The use of mannequins.
We love
Adaptations
Huge
incredible.
Yes.
The use of mannequins and like the way they use him, John Cusack's character, like being love mannequins, it reminded me.
Puppets.
Yeah, puppets. You're right, not mannequins. I'm sorry.
I
Marionettes. Marionettes is the word I was using. That's right. I'm sorry. Marionettes. Reminds me of when I saw Double Life Veronique and the use of marionettes to like tell a story. I was like, oh, Spike Jonze definitely saw.
I feel like Spike Jonze could and I know this is not a film of his, but I feel like Spike Jonze could be like a big Fassbender fan.
I think Spike Jonze is just kind of I bet he was like, if you met him, you'd be like, this guy's a cool fucking dude who knows what he's.
The German New Wave stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He'd be a guy who you wouldn't expect it, and he'd be like, oh yeah, you're like really, well versed in the.
Right.
All right, well that's.
Don't forget, he's in the skit in Jackass 2 where 3 6 Mafia pays Steve-O to eat a counter.
No, he's also. I love him.
Is that who they pay, or they pay Ryan Dunn?
I don't know, but I remember in Jackass when he dresses up.
Somebody to eat a horse turd. It's because it's the same setup where they do the milking machine on the horse, and they call it the old switch. Okay.
All right. Well, I remember he dresses up as the old. Him and Johnny Knoxville do like the old people.
Yes.
And he's in one where he's an old lady
old
going down the hill, and he's like, help, help. Yeah. So pretty impressive.
Let's shout out multiple films we love, and one I love in particular, Jackass films.
Yeah, I like
Jackass 2, I will say.
Really? That's so funny.
I
think Jackass 1.
So good.
I think Jackass 1.
Jackass 2 is their peak of debauchery.
It's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. That's the one where you're like, oh, these guys are fucked up.
Yeah, that's why I like Jackass 1.
But Jackass 2 is like when you enjoy Jackass, you have to appreciate it. Like, oh, this is like cultural extremes. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's
like
just
Jackass 2 is the one where they're like on the most stuff. Like they are like it is the
right.
peak of the Jackass fame, kind of at its.
Well, here's a way out of left field, but you like Southland Tales a
I
lot,
do like
and
Southland Tales
and
a
it's
lot.
funny when I watched Southland Tales, I was like, this movie also is like kind of commentary on the fact that Jackass is so prominent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
It plays all into like the Bud Light,
Like the early 2000s, like
bikini,
internet
yeah,
porn.
yeah.
Internet porn is a new thing.
Yeah.
Like Jackass is a big thing. Like it's like showing like we're so fucked.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, I just want to say really quick a recap because not a recap of the whole episode, but like three that really stood out to me of like if you should watch this is definitely Seven Cure, in my opinion.
So
What
easy,
you said,
easy comparison.
I had said Prisoners, Memories, Murders, but Zodiac, Memories, Murder is like spot on. And then, I mean, obviously Dark Knight Heat, that's fine. But are there any others that really stood out to you as like, if you like this, you should watch this? Because I really want to get like, we're giving you a lot, but it's like there's some that it's like this is truly like a 1-to-1.
Right, and none of mine are as specific as that. I would just say if you, purport yourself or what is the term?
I would say Inherent Vice, Long Goodbye. I think that's a really
great
1-to-1.
With the Raymond Chandler, certainly connection there. I would just say if you consider yourself a big Nolan fan, you need to be well versed on your classic Bonds.
Yeah.
Nolan
Good point.
Is classic Bond all the way. And
right with that, I would say if you consider yourself a Paul Thomas Anderson fan, you need to be a fan of Robert Altman.
Yep. You gotta be
for sure. Cool. Well, I think that's a great episode. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Sorry if this is a messy one. Please, leave comments.
Thoughts,
apologies for the audio. I know the audio is a little rough, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We got a dog here too. Dog's probably now in the cut. Well, good stuff.
We're not cutting the dog.
No, I say he's in the cut.
Oh yeah.
She. But yeah. All right. We'll. I'm gonna have to edit this one, but it'll be good. I'm glad we did this episode. Cheers again.
Cheers.
Thank you.